the last video I started a tradition where I'm going to be reading lines out of a packet. So, let's continue that with, I hired this terrific mime for little Johnny's birthday party. What is up, guys? This is Big Man Chief Fan here. Welcome back to another video, and today we're doing another book rant. I think this is the second book rant in a row, maybe, I don't know. I'm gonna check real quick. No, it isn't, so technically I'm in the free zone, but anyway, even then, I have loads of stuff to talk about. So, I don't know, so I have like 3 books I'm gonna review, 3 books I'm going to show off that I'm currently going to try to read, and then my massive TBR for the week until I go on my mini week hiatus next week. So, with that out of the way, let's get into this. Alright, so the first part of the book, the first book I'm going to be reviewing is a part of a buddy read, and this guy asked if I could do a full-on review of it on Goodreads, but instead I'm going to do it on here because I just feel like I'll have better time explaining things, my thoughts here, and that is The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro. Now, normally I love contemporary fiction, and I think that, and Kazuo Ishiguro's other big novel, Never Let Me Go, I love it. I loved it the first time I read it, but now I'm kind of skeptical on my love for him because, yeah, I did not really like this book. I know, I am going to get murdered. I'm going to be absolutely slaughtered for these viewpoints I'm about to give, but honestly, I just did not really enjoy The Remains of the Day, though I will admit that his writing style is gorgeous, and at first I was kind of liking it. But then, as the story went on, I just cared less and less and less about Stevens and his life at Darlington Hall, and his vacation, and how his perspective changing. I just could not care less about this book. And I know it's some of people's favorite book of all time. Like, it is Kazuo Ishiguro's most successful book. I know most people will say Never Let Me Go is his most famous book. This was really his most famous book. He won the Man Booker Prize for it. He won so many awards for it. He got so much praise about it. He got it turned into an actually decent movie from what I've heard, if you like the book. But I just did not love this book. I could not care about the characters. Like, that's the major thing that I just did not connect with were the characters. Which is strange because that's the thing I loved most about Never Let Me Go was the characters. But Stevens is just not that interesting of a person. He's just a butler, and it's just a stereotypical butler, and I don't really care about that character type at all. And honestly, I just did not love this book. I thought the story was rather bland. I thought the characters were blander. And yeah, it has an amazing writing style, but really, if you ask me, the story and characters take much more priority over gorgeous writing. So, The Remains of the Day, it just wasn't for me. However, what was for me, on the other hand, was Inherit the Wind by Jerome Lawrence and Robert E. Lee. This. Woo! Oh man, I gotta stop freaking out because this is now one of my favorite plays of all time because it's really short, it's a play, but oh my goodness, it is amazing. This play centers around the Scopes Monkey trial, and it's kind of like a fictionalized version of that, but it gets really realistic. Not saying I've ever been to the Scopes Monkey trial. In fact, it happened like 75 to 80 years before I was born. So, but I've heard this book is very realistic on what the situation was actually like, and it opened my eyes on a lot of things. Like, one quote absolutely captures the spirit of this book and why I love it so much. Hold on, let me pull it up because I put it in my Goodreads review. On page 77, the character Kate states that, hold on, page 77, the character of Kate says, "Religion's supposed to comfort people, isn't it? Not frighten them to death." That could not be more true if it was even, that could not be more true even if he tried to make a statement that was more true. This was amazing. I absolutely cared about the situation that was going on. The ending really shocked me, and it really gave a passionate portrayal of progressivism. And a lot of people's complaints about this play is that it demoralizes Christianity, and like how these people aren't really true Christians. Well, I don't think it needs to be said that these people are not good human beings that are going against like Kate's and Drummond, yeah. The people who are going against the Darwin idea of evolution they're ultimately just saying, if you don't believe our way, you're going to hell. And that's a horrible mindset. And I feel like this play absolutely critiques that with perfection. Like this critiques, like, it shows them at first being really jolly human beings and being happy towards each other, and then they start talking about, oh yeah, that guy's going to hell. Yeah, that guy's a terrible human being because he believes something different from us. And then it gets hostile in the courtroom, it gets intense, and then by the end, you hate pretty much everybody. You pretty much hate everybody, and it's just beautifully done. It portrays the spirit of the Scopes Monkey trial perfectly. It shows why it was such an important aspect of our in American history. And you can throw the O.J. Simpson trial in my face all you want. The Scopes Monkey trial really was the trial of the century. There's no comparison whatsoever. I think that it's important in every way, shape, and form. It's progressed us towards a more progressive view of the world, which is what I think is key in the world, because if we don't progress, where would we be? But I actually went more in depth into the religious side of this play in my Goodreads review, so if you want to check out my Goodreads review, I'll probably link it down in the description below. But I absolutely love this play, and I think it can safely stay with Hamlet, Waiting for Godot, and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead as one of my favorite plays of all time. And the final book I'm going to just go through real quick, because I've talked about this author to absolute death on this channel, and that is After the Banquet by Yukio Mishima. What a shock, I read a Yukio Mishima book, but I'm starting to run out of his books, and it would have been fine if everything he released was translated in English. And I'm like, oh well, that's it, let's just move on with my life. More than half of his bibliography has never been translated, and one of his novels that has been translated has been out of print since like 2000. Silk and Insight. I'm trying to hunt down a copy of that book. And I think I finally found one on Thrift Books, so I'm going to try to get that soon. But After the Banquet, it's about this woman named Kazu who owns this like little restaurant at a hilltop, and then she has and then there's a group of politicians that come around, and she falls in love, or not really, but she falls in love with one of the younger politicians, even though he's like 60. These are old gentlemen. So, and Kazu pursues her, the politician named Noguchi, and Noguchi is forced by Kazu to go back into a campaign, and it kind of details their campaign and their ultimate downfall. And I loved this book. It's another great edition of Yukio Mishima's bibliography. I think it's excellent. I think it's brilliant. And Yukio Mishima, I just think he's fantastic. So I cannot recommend him enough. This book is actually one of the ones I'd actually start with, because it's very accessible. But I would still start with Confessions of a Mask or The Sound of Waves. But if you like those two books, this is a great one to read. It's rather I know this is very sad, but this is actually rather chunky of a Mishima book. It's almost 300 pages, and yet it's chunky for a Mishima book. But I love this, and we need more Mishima in English. Soon I'm going to be trying to hunt down another short story collection of his and start reading his plays as well. So, After the Banquet, it's phenomenal. Alright, now the next three books are going to be books that I'm currently reading, or at least have my bookmarks in. And the first one is Ward 6 and Other Stories by Anton Chekhov. I've only ever read Ward 6 out of this collection, and I really liked it. So I just decided, let's just hop right back into it. And I'm about 30 pages into the short novel that's in here, The Duel, and it's okay. It's not really my favorite. But I feel like Chekhov. But I've actually heard this is one of the better Chekhov stories, so I'm kind of scared. But at the same time, I feel like he'd be better in shorter form or like plays. So I'm not giving up hope on Anton Chekhov. I'm going to read this collection, and then I'm going to read a couple of his plays after this collection. So that's really fun. So hopefully I enjoy Anton Chekhov more as I get through the story. But yeah, it's a good book so far. Alright, the next book is a book that I have a hard time pronouncing, but it's Eugene Onegin. What?! I actually said it fluently? By Alexander Pushkin. Oh my god, I've heard nothing but amazing things about this book, and I flipped through the first page, and I saw on the front that it's a novel in verse. So I'm like, oh, okay, so it's probably gonna be like an epic poem. And it's set up like this. And all in this entire book, this entire novel, rhymes. If you ever thought that you'd see a rhyming novel, well, here you go. Or at least this translation rhymes. But Penguin usually always brings out great translations. So I'm really getting into Russian literature. In fact, you may see a couple other Russian novels in here. But Eugene Onegin, well, there we go. I messed up there. Onegin is supposed to be phenomenal. It's supposed to be one of the greatest Russian novels ever written. And it's supposed to be one of the first. It's actually one of the first, actually. So, hopefully, I love this. And then the last book is a more modern book, and I think it's like Chinese-American, but I don't know. I'm really not sure. But it's Hunger by Lan Samantha Chang. This is the hardcover edition, but luckily the one if I love this book, the one that's on Amazon is absolutely gorgeous. So, I hopefully will like this, because I've heard really good things about it. Well, the few things I've heard about it on Goodreads, but it has a pretty decent average rating, so hopefully I love this, because it sounds like something I'd eat up. So, yeah, and Hunger is the first thing. Hunger is a novella, and it also has a whole ton of other stories in there, so Hunger is the first one I'm going to be reading, because it's the first one in here. Like, literally, it's Hunger. So, yeah, hopefully I enjoy this. Oh, the bookmark just, like the book ate the bookmark. I'm terrible with words. I'm getting delusional. Hunger by Lan Samantha Chang. I hope I enjoy this. Okay, this includes these two, but I got all of these from the library. Yep, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books. Great! More books! But anyway, I'm not going to waste any more time. Let's get into it with Henrik Ibsen's 4 major plays, which includes A Doll's House, Ghosts, An Enemy of the People, and Hedda Gabler. Henrik Ibsen, I've only read A Doll's House, and I loved it. A Doll's House. It was fantastic. And ever since then, I thought, maybe I should try it more Henrik Ibsen. But then I never got back in the mood to reading plays. But then the beautiful gem that was Inherit the Wind made me get back in plays. So I'm going to be not only reading this collection, well, the 3 remaining plays in here, but soon I may be reading The Cherry Orchard and the Seagull, both by Anton Chekhov, with the addition of the collection I own. So 4 major plays. I've already read one of them. I loved it, and hopefully I love the other 3. All right, the next book is another book that is this book has been sitting at 99 cents for like a year in the Kindle store, and I never bothered to buy it. But then I saw it at the library. I'm like, yeah, this is probably the better way to try it out. And that is The Price of Salt by Patricia Highsmith. Patricia Highsmith is much more known for Strangers on a Train and The Talented Mr. Ripley, but this one's also really famous. It's about this woman named Carol and another woman, I think her name, it says on the back, Therese, and if I'm not wrong, I think this is one of the first LGBTQ books that's ever gained fame. Because I feel like these women have a really strong relationship, because it mentions on the back where their love can blossom. So if it's like that, I'm all for it. And I've also heard it's done excellently. It's not like a very cliched version. I've heard it's like how Yukio Mishima handles homosexuality. He handles it very well and doesn't just sugarcoat it. So yeah, really excited to read this. I've heard excellent things about it. I've heard it got turned into a mediocre movie, but it has Jennifer Lawrence in it, so maybe. But anyway, I love the idea of this book, so hopefully it's executed well. Why am I so bad with words today? I'm bad with words all the time, yet I'm trying to become a writer. I need to change that immediately. Alright, the next book is A 3-Day Road by Joseph Boyden, who I've heard just the most excellent things about. And, ooh, the text is actually rather large, so maybe I may get through this quicker than I thought. But 3-Day Road, it's about this Native American woman who's the last person living on this, in the, clan that she's in. Not clan, that's the wrong word. Tribe. Why did I say clan? I'm sorry. But, she's, the last person in her tribe. And then her son comes back from war. or at least a teenage boy that she's really attached to, and then things happen, and that boy starts telling stories about what his experiences on the battlefield. So hopefully this turns out to be really good, because if it is good, I'm gonna be binging this all in one sitting, because this feels like one of those books I binge in one sitting. Like, I can easily read this in one sitting. Like, even though it's almost 400 pages, I think it's going to be worth it. So, 3-Day Road, hopefully I enjoy it. Alright, the next book is Mikhail Lermontov's Hero of Our Time. Says on the back that it's the first major Russian novel. So, I'm getting back into Russian literature. I'm also going to be trying to read much more Dostoevsky this summer. So, at first I thought my summer goal was going to be Don Quixote, but I think it's going to be the Brothers Karamazov instead. So, worst case, I'll do both. But I'm really into Russian literature right now, or at least the idea of Russian literature is attaching to me. So, Mikhail Lermontov's A Hero of Our Time. I've heard it's fantastic, so why not? Alright, the next book is a graphic novel, which is strange for me, but this one I've just heard excellent things about. Or, actually I've heard mixed things about, but the people that say it's great are people that I trust, so including Conrad over 7 Days at Sea, which you guys know who I absolutely adore. So, it's Ghost World by Daniel Clowes. This is a lot shorter than I thought. It's only like 80 pages. I can easily get through this in one sitting, if not a 20-minute sitting. It's extremely short. But Ghost World, I've heard fantastic things about from the people that I personally trust. And it just sounds like a coming-of-age story about these two teenage girls going to school with each other. But if that's not true, oh well. But I think this will be fantastic. I love the art style already. Like, this is absolutely gorgeous. And if so, there's a couple other Daniel Clowes books out now. So, yeah, because originally you could only get his stuff in single issues or, like, really out-of-print graphic novels. But I think this Fantagraphics, which is a fantastic company, reprinted his work. So that's really cool. Alright, the next book is a strange read for me because it's a biography. And I don't normally read biographies. And maybe I'll save this one for later, but I just love the life story of this man, and I need to learn more. And once you guys see, you're gonna be like, you hyped this up for no reason, Graham. It's obvious. It's Persona, a biography of Yukio Mishima, and I have his portrait just staring back at me. But Persona is a big book. Like, even if you eliminate all, like, the notes and stuff, it's still like 730 pages. So hopefully I enjoy this, because my dad and I were having a conversation when we were driving back from the library, because he always takes me to the library. But Persona, he says that his favorite type of book to read is a good biography, and he saw this in my pile, and he was absolutely shocked, because I don't normally, when I do read nonfiction, it's stuff like essays and memoirs and stuff like that. Pretty much everything that isn't a biography or a history book. So, Persona, a biography of Yukio Mishima. I love the works of Yukio Mishima, and I hope I like this one as well. I hope I love his life story through this book, because his life story is fascinating. But really, I only know about the beginning and the end of his life, so I really need to find out more about the middle. Hopefully this will succeed in my mission on doing so. Alright, the next book is a total, just last attempt to like this author, because I really want to love this author. This author sounds fantastic, yet I cannot get into this guy for the life of me. I read the entirety of one of his books and hated it. It's one of my least favorite books of all time. I can't stand it, but I've also heard his writing style differentiates throughout the entirety of his book, so I just decided, why not? Just go through his bibliography and pick out one that you'd really think you'd like, and then read it. So I chose one, and it's The Thousand Autumns of Jacob de Zoet by David Mitchell. The book that I read from him and absolutely hated was Cloud Atlas. I hated Cloud Atlas. It's one of the few books where I was absolutely confused by. Like, at least Ulysses took at least, 400 pages for me to start scratching my head. And even then, I knew what was going on. I just had, to sit for a moment and comprehend it. Cloud Atlas, if you chose to talk to me saying, hey, what happened in Cloud Atlas? I'll be like, There's people in the sky, and I'm like, I don't even know if that's right. Like, I tried to get that book out of my head. That was such a terrible book. And so confusing. But The Thousand Autumns of Jacob Dezoet, I read, like, the first chapter of it, and actually kind of liked what I read. So, you know what? Let's give him another shot. And if I like this, hopefully I'll try The Bone Clocks, which I've heard is his other big book. But I don't know. That one didn't sound as interesting as this one. Because this one is a historical fiction book based on some Dutch man going to Japan. And you guys know how much I love Japanese culture. Well, at least I love the idea of Japanese culture. I'm not really an expert in it. But The Thousand Autumns of Jacob Dezoet. Hopefully I like this. Because I really want to love him, David Mitchell. And the last book is from an author whose latest book I've read released recently and loved it. I thought it was fantastic, and so I decided to try this one. And it is the first book he's ever written, and it was longlisted for the Man Booker Prize, so that's pretty cool. And it's The Gift of Rain by Tang Tuan Eng. I've read The Garden of Evening Mist and loved it. I love his writing style. I think it's fantastic, and his characters are just fascinating as well. So, and this one's longer. This one's like 400 pages, I think. Yeah, 430 pages. That's pretty cool. So, hopefully I love this. I think he's a fantastic author so far, and sadly this is the only other book he's written, and he's still alive from what I heard of, but he just hasn't written anything in like 5 years. So hopefully we see a new novel from this man very soon. And if he does release a new book soon, expect me to hop on it. Because I loved The Garden of Evening Mist. So I'm excited to read this. So that was the video, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Comment down below what you guys thought about this little book rant of mine. And yes, I ever have too much to read, but you know what? It's almost summer. I'm getting on summer vacation in 3 days, and I'm so excited. So anyway, I'm Mega Man Chief Fan, and I'll see you later, guys.